Hello, everybody. Welcome to the G. Louise Book Series channel. I'm Christina, Kristianadeluise. And please take the time to like and subscribe to my channel to let me know I'm doing okay. I have no graphics. I have no fancy stuff that everybody else has. It's just me talking about Star Trek or talking about books. That's it. I'm not fancy. I'm sorry. I'm not fancy. I'm just a person that talks about the show or books. And I would really appreciate if you would show me some kindness and like my channel to let me know I'm doing okay, that you don't need all this fancy stuff to keep you involved. Okay, so we're talking about Star Trek Next Generation and disc 6. And like I've said before, these are really hard to read. I held it up the other day and it fell apart, so I don't want to hold it up again. So today we're talking about the Arsenal of Freedom, Symbiosis, Skin of Evil, and We'll Always Have Paris. And in the Arsenal of Freedom, their scanners must be inadequate if they cannot pick up any life forms on the planet. However, on the planet, the people know the Enterprise is there, so the planet must be cloaked in some way. And they go down to the planet, and he's got these machines that reminded me a little bit of the androids now that they used to deliver stuff, and like with a helmet on it or some Star Wars stuff with the machines that were shooting stuff on. And the machine makes Paul Rice appear to Riker, somebody that he knows, and he tries to get information out of Riker. And it says the machine that first appeared in the form of a Captain Rice was on an intelligence gathering mission, and that the device would be used to protect an image of someone that they will trust, and if discovered, then they will encase the individual in that force field that they put Riker in, and then that eventually got up, and Captain and Picard go off, and they end up in a hole in the ground, and they spend some quality time together, and he finds the machine. But rumor has it, and I'll talk about this later in the other episode, that Picard and Crusher were supposed to divulge their feelings for each other. Picard season 3, warning. And they Gene Roddenberry said no, according to rumor. Anyway, but then there's Chief Logan. I wish they would get a permanent chief. You would have thought that they would have thought about this, and I'll probably talk about it again. They keep going to engineering for all this stuff. How come it never occurred to them to get an engineer? I guess they wanted to be different than the first Star Trek. That they wouldn't have an engineer, that they would just have a bridge crew. So that it's like it's constant. It's a little it's a miniature pet peeve that will be alleviated, I know, soon. And then Geordi fails to attack the invisible enemy, so he separates the ship, and he has confrontations with that engineer guy, and he goes into the ready room to have get some thoughts together, and Troy comes in, and I was thinking that rumor has it that Whoopi Goldberg wanted to be on this show, and she approached LeVar Burton about it, and he said that he would talk to people, but people didn't believe him. So she went later on and talked to people. But this would have been a really good moment for him to go over to the lounge area that they have in the future seasons and talk to Guinan. But on the other hand, he does get he talks to Troy in the ready room, and he thinks she's there because of him, and no, she wants to tell him that he needs to support the bridge crew, to give them support so they know that they're doing the right thing. So he does that. So they separate, and they end up saving. Yeah. So he ends up saving the day, and then when he gets everybody back, to the Enterprise, Geordi's like, "I relieve to you," and Picard goes, "Excuse me. When I left you in charge, I left you in charge of a full ship. So I'm not going to take back command of my ship until it's back together." So that was cute. Okay, so symbiosis. So they go to look at some sunflowers, and they receive a distress call and try to help them with parts and stuff, but they seem very naive, and they bring up some good points. How can they um, be on a ship and not know how to fix it? How can they not know how to do XYZ? So all this stuff comes up, and it raises little red flags. And when Picard offers to save them, why do they send the medicine and not themselves? Another red flag. And the Beckians, I think, are a little on the cruel side. And I want to know how come it took the doctor so long to figure out that it was addiction and not, a terminal illness. And apparently this episode was written by a Miami Vice guy. Remember that show, Don Johnson? And what's his name wrote the theme song? In the night, they're driving. All right, other show. And I love Tasha's little PSA, public service announcement with Wesley, the exchange there. That was cute. And it also provides additional information for future episodes where Tasha does come back. So we've got a couple of itty bitty tidbits that they will use in future with Tasha. And then they try to kill Riker, but again, Picard refuses. The guy puts the electrical on Riker, and they're like, "All right, we won't kill him." Yeah, these people. But when he finally figures it out, he decides that he cannot help either side because of the Prime Directive. He can't repair the coils on the ship, and he can't, if they want to take the medicine, they take the other people do that too. But by not taking the coils, he's facing the other peeps to go do their own discovery of withdrawal. And it may take a while. They may all suffer tremendously for a while, but they should, figure it out. Maybe their scientists will think of medicine to improve their condition. But the Breckians, how can you support an entire society on one thing? And how can you be totally dependent for everything on another society? You need to get together. You need to solve this problem. You need to mesh. Because if you only do one thing and the one thing runs out, then what happens? The other side is doing everything. And you're doing one thing. But you got the other side depending on you for that one thing. What happens? And it's going to be a long process. I can see it coming because those people were damn slow. And if they haven't figured it out in 500 years, someone ought to tell them. But so because of the Prime Directive, he leaves both sides to deal with it on their own. All right. So, a couple little tidbits in Skin of Evil. In the beginning of the show, Jonathan Frakes talked about this, that him and Miranda tried, even though the writers kept pushing them on other people, they tried to keep a little tidbit of romance between Troy and Riker going. And in the very beginning of the episode, Picard and Riker are having this little conversation about Troy being away at the conference and she's coming back and it'll be good to see her. And you can hear the reflection in Jonathan Frakes' voice that yes, he's going to be really happy to see her. And then there's also a cute discussion between Worf and Tasha on she's entered in a competition and she would like Worf to help her practice for the competition. And Worf tells her that he bet on her to win, and he just thinks that she thinks that is so cute, that makes her so happy that she has Worf's confidence that she would do good in this competition. So then, again, my pet peeve with the engineer. We've got a different engineer again this time, and they get a little delay getting down to the planet. And I always thought I remembered the sucking in to the black tar, and I'd like to know what that was because Jonathan Frakes had that in his mouth, and I want to know what that was, how they faked that kind of stuff. But I thought Tasha got sucked into it, but it just killed her outright. And again, this sets it up for a future episode where Tasha comes back and discovers that she died for no reason just because the creature felt like it. And, they should have been a little more respectful to her character. Unless, of course, they knew 3 or 4 years down the line that they would go back and revisit the storyline and give her a better ending. I don't know why. Maybe the writers or something were not happy with her leaving like that. I don't know what happened. I was not privy to that information. It was like 30 years ago. But so they just had the creature die, and then they strung it out again in sickbay with Dr. Crusher trying to bring her back, and she keeps trying and it just it was a little heart wrenching to watch her. I probably cried the first time terribly when it happened, but so yeah, that was just uh yeah. And anyway, so Worf is promoted, sort of, kinda, and the creature and Deanna have a really interesting conversation, and they say that Riker's alive inside the creature, which we know he is, but that was icky. That was just icky, and like I said, I guess this can go a little more. I wonder what that stuff was like in his mouth. It just, ugh. But Picard has Deanna's been talking to the entity, and she figures out a few things. So when Picard beams in, she gives him the information, and then Picard works on the entity, and they have a little funeral at the end, and it was heart wrenching. It was, like she planned her own death. She knew maybe in the future we'll be able to. And she says that as long as there are people alive that will remember you, then you'll live on. But when you have no descendants or relatives, so that when you go, and there's nobody to remember you gone, it's a little sad. It's a little sad because. But Tasha will be remembered, and she will be remembered in future episodes because she will. This is not the last time you see her, as we know. So we will always have Paris. They start off with the fencing, and I'd like to point out, well, it could be because he's bald, it could be because he's the captain, but they started with the fencing thing, and Picard looks fine. Did he have a stunt double? I have no idea. Did he? Do you guys know? But the lieutenant, he takes off his thing and he's dripping. And Picard's like, yeah, okay. And then they have that little time loop thing, and then they just Paul Mannheim sends out this distress signal, and Michelle Phillips, Mamas and the Papas, check it out. And I knew she looked familiar to me, well, for the Mamas and the Papas, but she was on Knots Landing for a really long time too. That was a nighttime soap opera with Dynasty and Dallas. Knots Landing was one of those nighttime soap operas. We were really heavy into soap operas way back when. Massively heavy into soap operas. So maybe that's why this little tete-a-tete romance thingy happens with Picard and Michelle Phillips' character. You know, he left her in the restaurant in Paris. Will always have Paris. So I thought that was a little. It was like, really, and another moment in this episode, which goes back to the Arsenal show, where Picard and Crusher were trapped in the underground, and he's saving her life. And remember, I said that they were supposed to like admit their feelings, and Gene Roddenberry said no. Well, in this episode, Dr. Crusher witnesses a little, nothing, just an interaction. And you could tell she's a little, little smidgen jealousy. But then later on, Deanna comes to see Dr. Crusher, and they have a conversation like they did give feelings to each other in that other one, but they didn't. But this is written like Deanna knows that Dr. Crusher has feelings for Picard. So there is something there. And you gotta wait till Picard season 3. You gotta wait like 40 years. What the, come on, peeps. Oh, good Lord. My buddy is climbing over stuff. Come here. He was involved in wires. I had to rescue him. I'm sorry. If every time I try and pause video, I cut myself off. So please, I'm not technically advanced like everybody else is. So again, I ask for your support and like and subscribing my video. But so, and then Picard has a moment with Michelle Phillips in that little room, and like, how come you didn't show up in Paris? And he's like, well, I was afraid. And then she's like, oh no, lie to me. Well, it was raining. I was like, come on. Like I said, we were really, really, really heavily into soap operas back then. So they were pushing the soap opera angle. The lost love. Oh, God. What would have happened if you had showed up to the cafe? Would you have gone on to be captain? Little stuff like that. So then they discover that the time loop is spread throughout the galaxy, so they have to go fix it. And the fix is kind of quick. Data goes down to the planet and he has to fight. He has a few little obstacles, you know, a little security obstacles. I guess they had to add a little suspense to the story. They had gone so much for the soap opera stuff up to this point. So then they give Brett Spinner some action scenes to complete himself, and because of the time loop, he ends up as 3 different people, and they add a little tension, and he has to figure out, oh my God, which one of us do we go with? There was a little tension there, and then when they fix the time loop, the doctor is better. He's all better, and so then Picard and the lady have a little tete-a-tete, saying goodbye on the holodeck in that Paris sequence again. He's 17. He needs his meds. We gotta get a job so we can give him his meds. But anyways, please take the time to like and subscribe, and I hope you enjoyed The Awesome Will Freedom, The Symbiosis, Skin of Evil, and We'll Always Have Paris. And we'll say a moment of silence for Tasha Yar. Her memorial was so cute. So please like and subscribe us. I'm most appreciative. He's so cute. But thank you so much. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Please spread the word. I don't have TikTok or Instagram or any of those type of capabilities. And it would just help me if you would promote my channel. Or just like me. That's all. It's free. Just click the old button. Like me. Thank you.